So we are now headed to the third week of baseball free agency. The Padres have done virtually nothing aside from the Juan Soto trade. I have no problem with the deal they made. I have a problem, as we talked about in our podcast last week. I don't think they got the right guys in the trade from the list of blue chip guys that the Yankees had stockpiled on their 40-man roster. I think that's a problem. The other problem, and this is a bigger problem, and this has to do with money. It's like the Monopoly game. This has to do with the fact that they've been so far over the luxury tax limit 3 years in a row. They're going to get a bill in January for $38.9 million. That's how much they have to pay Major League Baseball for being over the luxury tax threshold 3 years in a row. That's why there is this big push that this payroll has to go from 253 down to 200. Now there is sentiment that they're going to take it lower. They might take it as low as $180 million. That's a hell of a decrease from 253 last year for that group of underachievers that we saw at Petco Park. That may be part and parcel why they have done nothing on the free agent front. There have been 41 pitchers who have changed teams since free agency started December 4th. 41. None of them come to San Diego yet.
Yeah.
Now, the two Japanese pitchers are still out there, but Yamamoto is way beyond what they'd ever pay. And suddenly, Shoto Igamama is getting inflated offers, which means maybe they're not going to be in on him. And they've lost so many of their support pitchers who have gone. 2 of them to Kansas City, 1 to the Angels, 1 to Cincinnati. They have made no moves at all. And the fact there's 41 pitchers have already changed teams, that's tough. And then we get into the other part of this whole syndrome. There's still guys out there that you can trade for, the Shane Biebers of the world. But the price tag is going to cost you one of your blue chip guys in the minor leagues. We want to do that again? Did we not learn from the Juan Soto transaction or a whole bunch of other transactions that A.J. Preller's made? So this is not a good situation for the Padres, especially if the rumor mill is true that instead of going from 253 to 200 million, it may be more like 180 million because they owe Major League Baseball so much money. So they got work to do. Granted, baseball season doesn't start a week from Friday, but they got holes. They might have the worst pitching staff right now in the National League West because you got 2 of them coming off health issues, Yu Darvish and Joe Musgrove, and you've lost all the other guys. Kansas City took both Michael Wacha and Seth Lugo and gave them what was in the Padre contract, $16 million per year. Now, those guys are going to be at the front end of the Kansas City rotation. They were at the back end of the Padre rotation. But the Padres lose 2 starters who pitch pretty well at the price they decided they didn't want to pay. And those guys get that price somewhere else to go pitch in a bad team at Royal Stadium. So I'm concerned. I'm alarmed. I don't know how they're going to get out of this financial box that A.J. Preller put them in.
Doesn't it feel like, the previous 2 or so years, Seidler, just wanted to win, and he was willing to kind of look the other way on rational business practices and just put all of his chips on the table. Sadly, he's no longer with us. And now I think the business people are making business decisions. Now, going from 253 to 200, even down to 180 sounds awful, but in the history of the Padres, 180 is a hell of a lot.
Yeah, but that money's all tied up in 4 or 5 players.
Exactly.
And there's no other way to get increased money to go get what's left out there on the marquee front.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they're in a bad spot right now. So, maybe, gosh, wouldn't it be great to have Mackenzie Gore right now? There's a lot of other players that we dealt Soto away for. It'd be nice to have. But, they're going to have to depend on young kids. I mean, they're going to really need to have a blend, of veterans, high price guys and up and coming young guys. So hopefully they're going to bring up Snelling. There's a couple of other hitters, what's the kid that was a shortstop and then he was out playing in the outfield? who's a really good hitter. He was like in Double-A, I think. So there's a few of those guys that have a shot to make it too.
Well, Snelling is at Double-A, but he's young Double-A. He's not ready for the major leagues. Maybe in July, they'll give him the kick at the can. Drew Thorpe, who was a really bright young pitcher, was 14-2 for the Yankees in Class A, came in the Soto trade, but he's at least 2 years away. And he's not a power pitcher. He's more of a finesse guy. So he's a back of the rotation guy. I would have thought by now, AJ would have jumped into the market and signed some guys to 1-year free agent contracts, veteran pitchers, because he's done it in the past. He's found guys. He hasn't done that. Padres have signed 10 minor league free agents. Not one of them is an established guy that you can say, okay, he can be my fifth starter, or he can be one of my setup. Not one of them. They're all journeyman guys that have been with 6 different clubs.
Yeah.
I'm kind of stunned at that. And yes, there's potential to make trades. But again, if you think you're going to go get Shane Bieber from Cleveland, who's going to be moved, you're going to have to give up something significant. And that means, are we going to take one of the pitchers at Double-A that might be the future from now?
Yeah.
To me, it's just a bad combination. This whole monopoly game thing is, the credit card bill has come due.
Yeah.
It really has.
No doubt about it. But, what about Trevor Bauer? You still think maybe
Bauer is out there? Julio Reyes is out there.
Yeah.
Somewhere the district attorney's office is going to make a decision, I would assume within the next month, about whether they charge Urias with domestic abuse. So, I don't know. You're asking me to talk about the moral responsibility of running a team, but Trevor Bauer is a proven commodity. Bad citizen and all, he's a proven commodity, despite his bad decisions that he's made in his personal life. Granted, never been arrested, never been charged, but I mean, you shake his hand, you feel like you got to go wash your hands.
Yeah, you do. That's a tricky one. But I think right now, our center fielder is Jose Azocar. I mean, who's playing left field? We're talking about giving Cronenworth a glove. But maybe Pedro Avila is going to be in the starting rotation. I mean, we have to dig deep to make this work. So, yeah, they're in a world of hurt right now.
Okay, we go from those